What's up? What is up, everybody? I see our friends are joining us today, which is great. I am Cheds, Big Cheds. I'm here with my partner in crime, Big Chonis. What's up, Big Chonis?
Good afternoon, Cheds. How are we doing today?
Is that good afternoon? Is that what time it is in Iceland?
In Iceland, actually, in the wintertime, it's always afternoon for some reason. It's weird.
It is. It is. It's upside down world, my friend. So we're just gonna give everybody a quick update. I'm gonna fade the music down a little bit here, so you guys can start to hear our voices better. Big Jonas, you will be keeping an eye in the chat room. Is that right?
You got it, buddy.
I did mention briefly in Twitter that we're going to do just a quick update, and then we'll, maybe take a couple questions via the chat room, just to, take the temperature out there and give people, a little bit of a back and forth. And I know you also mentioned you wanted to go over GDAX as well and do just a little bit on that. So we'll do kind of we'll just let it flow here. We'll make it nice and tight, not too long, 20 minutes, but that's our plan. I'm going to go first on Bitcoin, Big Chonis, and this is Big Cheds. And guys, by the way, you can find Big Chonis on Twitter at Big Chonis. You can find me on Twitter at Big Cheds. Also the blog, of course, chedstrading.blogspot.com, where we have the complete beginner's guide to cryptocurrency trading. Definitely check that out, guys. You'll have a lot of fun. And subscribe for more videos on YouTube. Big Jonas, I'm looking at the hourly chart right now, and I posted a tweet earlier. I'm looking, it's almost like a descending triangle where you have kind of a flat bottom with a kind of lower low, lower high type of situation. And I drew my top trend lines twice, so, using the candle close. So I'm kind of watching two different levels here on Bitcoin because we are right now, we still do have higher lows right now. Now you can make a pretty good argument that until it breaks both of these trend lines, nothing to get excited about. What do you think, buddy?
Yeah, Cheds. I mean, are we seeing a rising wedge within a descending triangle? In that triangle you drew there, we see one, two, three, and we're on our fourth potential rising wedge. And every time we seem to top off there, it just gives most of it back, all of it back, maybe puts in a higher low there. It's kind of been the pattern we've been stuck in the past several days. Every morning when I wake up, I'm surprised to see that the price of Bitcoin seems to be kind of where it was when I went to bed.
Mm,
And we're just sideways, sideways, sideways. The one thing that's really sticking out to me, though, is the volume. It's pretty weak still.
hmm
We're
hmm
not really seeing a lot of conviction in terms of buyers coming into the market.
mm.
And even when we seem to reset on like an hourly standard, the kind of push we get from it doesn't really seem to push us anywhere except back down. We've seen several nice little impulse candles that just kind of fade away and get sold into.
Mm.
And that seems to be a repeating pattern now, at least for the past couple of days with Bitcoin.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, those are great points, and I think it's a situation where, I mean, if you're a bull, you can still find reasons to be a bull, and if you're a bear, you can clearly cite the lack of enthusiasm, Big Jonas. I mean, it's easier to be a bear right now, but it's still definitely plenty of arguments for the bulls. I'm just going to zoom out, give everyone a big picture. We are still range bound. I'm looking at Bitcoin right now on the GDAX chart and also on Bitfinex. It's going to be pretty much the same, but I have it marked up on the GDAX chart. We are still range bound between an upper and a lower trend line, basically. And until we break that trend line in basically in either direction, I don't think we have a clear signal. So we have the lower trend line, which is shown to be support several times, and we have the upper trend line, which is shown to be resistance several times. So we are still in a consolidation period. So I don't think the bulls or the bears, no one's going to know who's the winner until, in my opinion, until the trend line breaks. We pretty much gave back, Big Jonas. We gave back those three white soldiers. So hopefully we at least got a rook for those three pawns we gave away. And we're close to resetting on the daily chart, Big Jonas, but we'd have to potentially test this trend line. What do you think?
Yeah, Chad, on the daily, I mean, I've been watching the stock and RSI and basically thinking to myself, are we going to bottom out? Is that going to be what it's going to take, basically to put in a reset and potentially bring some buyers back in the market. As you can see, we almost did a double bottom several days ago on the stock and RSI, kind of a little head fake there, like it was breaking out, kind of came back down. And when we did our second bottom there, that basically signaled finally a bottom in the short term, and which allowed 3 days there of some nice gains. And basically you can see we're coming back down to that bottoming there. So are we going to bottom again? Is this kind of turn bullish and kind of turn up before we bottom out again? And I think we're probably headed to that bottoming area to basically set our sights on that so we can create the next bounce opportunity.
All right. I think that's remains to be seen. I think we are at an area where we're testing support. But I don't think anyone, I think it's too soon to talk about 6K, right? Until we deal with the support. Just like when we're at a 9K, I don't like talking about 12 or 13K because we still have to deal with, the trend line. So that's kind of where we're at. Interest. I'm going to go to Big Chonis. I'm going to go to 1 hour on Litecoin. And just comparison, I'm going to flash back. Now we're going to see the Bitcoin 1 hour. And then here's the Litecoin 1 hour, and you can kind of see that they don't exactly look the same anymore, do they, Big Jonas?
No, Chad. We've been seeing a divergence in the price of Litecoin for a little bit of time now. Litecoin faring worse basically than Bitcoin. The thing that again, what's really sticking out to me here, there's a few things here. We're just not finding any conviction here of a bottom. I mentioned a few days ago in our broadcast that I was looking for a low 130s to potentially make another entry in. But I was watching very closely basically how are we going to get there. On our previous time where we had a low of 137 and that allowed us to have a nice bounce, we got there pretty quickly. It really dumped from about 150 to 137 within a matter of like 12 hours. That kind of dump can precipitate a really nice bounce opportunity because we're trickling down in the 30s here. 34, 33, a little bounce to 37, then back to 34. This morning I think we almost maybe hit 39. Now we gave it all back to 33. Because we seem to be daisy chaining down, it almost is feeling that this could go lower because we really haven't had that super bottom confirmation where the selling has basically dried up, and we just see consistent selling as we get lower into the 130s. Now we did bottom at 130, which was like right where I was kind of looking for that next bottom, and it is a round number, and sometimes Bitcoin and cryptos like to bottom and top out at pretty exact numbers there. But this current little bounce here of what, $3, I don't really have a lot of faith in, and it seems to be putting in another rising wedge, which I'm sure at some point will basically fall apart, and we might break through 130 and start playing around with the 120s from there.
I think that's valid. I mean, I look for I'm looking at what's the most obvious signal. What's the most easy signal is we have this downtrend line. So I could look for a break of the downtrend line as a buying signal, right? If I'm on the sidelines or if I'm looking for a trend direction, Big Jonas. And guys, once again, this is Big Cheds. We're coming to you for some just some spot analysis here in the afternoon. I'm here with Big Chonis. You can find us on Twitter. You know what I mean, Big Chonis? You know what I mean? I'm looking for what's the most obvious. I mean, okay, rising wedge, falling diamond Chrysler, whatever pattern you want to come up with. Okay, I have this downtrend line which has been thrice rejected. If we break and hold this downtrend line on this 1 hour candle, I mean that would be a signal, would it not?
It would, but you got to keep your expectations in check. Are we going to bounce to like 136, 137 and do another fourth attempt at your trend line there? It's possible, probable actually. But that trend line there seems to be pretty solid. I mean, the triple rejection, that's telling you something.
Listen, I want to remind you of a conversation. It's interesting. So you're really, I always think you're a Litecoin whisperer. You have a good feel for it. And I just want to remind you of a conversation we had when we were kind of scoping this out, and it was around 180 or maybe 170. And you were talking about different levels, and then we said, blah blah blah, it gets down to 130, it's gonna bounce back 130 to 150, right? And
Hmm.
then now that we're kind of there, we almost second guess what we thought before we were in the moment, right? So I want to kind of remind you and us of that. So you know what I'm saying? So we're here at 130. We're going to go to 150 shortly, don't you think?
So when we were at 150 and I was saying, oh wow, I think we're actually heading to 130, that was really based on the fact that I thought we were going to get there pretty quickly in some sort of a cascading waterfall sell. The trickle down thing is, it's almost scary because what it says is through the entire 130s they were looking for buyers. They were looking for buyers to basically agree on a short-term bottom, and we didn't fall through the 130s. We definitely kind of stepped lower through the 130s, showing there's no conviction anywhere in the 130s
Mm,
for a decent level of support there.
mm.
And we were talking about how Bitcoin has kind of really affected everything in the price of Bitcoin. And we've seen Bitcoin, having a hard time itself trying to break over 8,000 now. Litecoin almost feels like, based on your trend line here, feels like 135, 136 is now its hard resistance level that we're going to probably test again, and it just keeps getting lower and lower and lower, and until we can get a capitulation move where we can drop a good 10-15% within a 12-hour span, maybe that's not that flush is what would induce a really nice bounce opportunity and potentially a market change in direction.
Hmm.
Because we haven't seen Bitcoin have its correction that everybody's kind of waiting for, something that's going to break the 7,500 range and lower. We really haven't seen how Litecoin would react to something like that if that happens. If it doesn't happen, if Bitcoin is stabilizing where it is, yes, this could definitely be a near-term bottom for Litecoin, and we might be able to find some buyers in and slowly trickle up. But for any kind of a bottom conviction, which I'm not seeing yet, I just can't see how this kind of slow skimming off the 130 area will induce a lot of confidence that this is a great entry point or at least a short-term bottom. I'm just not seeing it yet.
I just think that's brilliant, man. I think the people listening are like, holy cow, this is really good stuff. Just on your screen, Big Chonis, you're going to see I just marked up what would be like a bullish scenario here because I am seeing some decent candles on the 1 hour. We do have a nice hammer off the bottom here with a follow-up green candle. We have the inverted hammer, then we had the hammer, and then this turned into was a hammer, turned into like almost like a big green candle, and then we're getting another hammer potentially after that. So if we do see this candle close nice and strong, we will get that stochastics crossing here after almost a full reset and a potential trend line test in about 2 hours.
Does
You to watch
the
also.
OBV
Yeah, look that
does
downtrend.
the OBV give
Yep.
you pause about that? It's a pretty nasty downtrend there.
That I drew that so we can watch for a break, right? I'm
Hmm.
looking. I want to see the trend so I can know if and when it breaks.
Right.
So it like recognizing that it's bad is good because that's the first step to knowing when it if and when it changes. Because then you kind of can get a potential early view of what might come. Ethereum right now is below 450, Big Jonas. It's a level we've talked about before. And let's just compare Ethereum to Bitcoin on the 1 hour, just so we can get a little perspective. Let's see. Okay, that's that, and that's that. So they look very similar. I'd say Ethereum looks a little bit worse, but Ethereum looks a lot closer. It's tracking a lot closer to Bitcoin than Litecoin is right now, Big Jonas.
Yeah, I agree, Chad. Litecoin is 2% worse, but the chart, especially on the 1 hour, you kind of have this slow trickle basically coming down. We mentioned the 450 area, which was where we bounced
Hmm.
back the previous Sunday on the 18th, right on the dot. 450 brought us all the way up to 586. That was an amazing impulse wave, and we gave all that back, and now we're giving all that back and then some. Now
Mm.
it feels like 450 being a support area previously is now going
Resistance.
to be a resistance area now.
Yep.
And if you want to look at the daily, we're basically we're pretty bottomed on the stock in. We're really bottomed on the RSI. I mean, this
Mm.
is
Mm.
really oversold now.
We
Ether
could we
really oversold.
we could get an OBV double bottom here potentially. which is like something to look for. See the OBV? We
Hmm.
could get a potential double bottom. We didn't have that before in your prior. You have almost a triple bottom stochastics, but you didn't get. You still had this like, big time downtrending OBV. So it could be it would be potentially notable. You're looking for just where's the pattern change? That's
Right.
a potential subtle pattern change, is it not?
It is. And, from a chart technical standpoint, this would be, you would think, a really good risk to reward in terms of an entry here, just
Hmm.
because of how so
Oh
oversold it
wow,
is.
yeah. And look at the area, Big Chonis. Go back to December. Go
Hmm.
back to late November through like December 11th. Look where we are. We had 5, 6, 7, 8. We had like 13, 14 days in this area. So this, I mean, almost would be shocking to lose support here. Do you see what I'm saying?
There's a lot of history here. Mentally, I remember we were saying when on the way up, I was like, oh my God, it's
Emotionally.
emotionally, right. I think a lot of people were actually, um, I mean, I didn't come to Ether until it was in the mid $300 range here. So that was an
Right.
area where, I was starting from, where I know a lot of people that had been into crypto a lot longer remember when Ether was $10 or even less. So what we're seeing here is we're right back at this historic support. We're kind of holding it, but if
Right.
Bitcoin has its flush,
Mm,
then Ether is going to have its flush. And I did put a
right.
tweet out earlier today noting that from a depth chart standpoint on GDAX, Ether
Yep.
actually had the worst looking depth chart. And
Let's segue right into GDAX, but I just want
sure.
to make the point. Isn't it? I mean, isn't it interesting? You have Ethereum at historical support, which looks like it probably would, 60-40, 70-30 would hold, right? At the same time, Bitcoin's at a lower trend line support. Like everything's at where it like should bounce.
Right.
So it's like, it could break, but like I think it's more likely that these things hold, given kind of how they're all lining up. But why don't you go ahead and take us through GDAX, what's jumping out to you real quick, and then we'll jump in the chat room for about 3 or 4 minutes.
Sure. All right. So let's go to GDAX. Let's pull up Bitcoin here. I guess we'll start with the daily just to get kind of a sense where we're at here. We put in a really nasty candle yesterday. It basically closed at the very bottom of its day, no wick, no anything. Um, Today's candle, it's green. I guess that's a good
Inside
thing.
bar, it's inside bar though.
It
That's a good
is.
thing.
It is. It's holding, which is good. We
Hmm.
haven't broken through that 7.7 and change area, which is a good thing. Couple things I want to notice here. First, Cheds, let's aggregate. You have it at $10 there. Let's put it to $1 on the lower left there. And
Done.
basically, I wanted to see kind of where a lot of these buys were setting up. I'm trying to decipher because I'm seeing like a lot of money there. I'm seeing like,
Hmm.
there's 57 Bitcoin ready to buy at, 7906.
Hmm.
The 48 behind that, 7386. So we're seeing money there.
Hmm.
Um,
But it's
but I think
bearish. Look at this angle. Isn't this a bearish short term here?
so. I'm almost seeing these as like fake walls of buying. It's like if
Right.
there's 66 Bitcoin at 9706
Hmm.
and 50 Bitcoin a dollar less, like a dollar less. It's almost like they're just putting up these walls of support
Hmm.
to make it seem like there's more buying pressure than there actually is.
Right. Like a
Now,
prop
looking
bid.
at
Like a prop bid.
exactly, it's like a prop big, making it seem like there's more money here willing to buy than there is.
Interesting.
Let's zoom out on the depth chart here. Let's zoom all the way out,
To
and
what?
I want to
Okay. Yep, you got
yep,
it.
just in the hit the minus sign there all the way, and we kind of see now. I've had a lot of questions about if I can explain the depth chart a little more better, and I'll try and best I can here. This is kind of how I see it. A lot of people have been asking, isn't that a huge green wall of people who want to buy? And the answer is it absolutely is. But you have to ask yourself, where have they set up their money? And they've set up all their buys at lower prices, 7,000, under 7,000. So you're seeing, yes, there's money in there. These are buys that are preset. People already have their limit orders already in at these lower prices here.
Mm.
You're seeing a lot less of the sell orders in at higher prices, mostly because um, that's basically telling you that people are assuming that there's going to be a buying opportunity in the near future and not a selling opportunity from Bitcoin that was previously bought. It's because all the money is parked at a lower price here, even though it's a good wall of green, it's showing that there's money just ready to go. But most of that is just at a lower prices. And that's where I think the market is set up to basically scoop up Bitcoin at a lower price point. And, I mentioned the volume. I'm just not seeing the volume conviction. And I'm seeing a lot of sideways trading here where a decent amount of Bitcoin will move in one transaction. And then like we just had one there was a 38 Bitcoin was just, sold there. That's nice to see. But then I guarantee you in a minute or so, we're kind of see it give it all back, in some other dump. So it almost feels like it's this kind of game of Pong back and forth, trying to maintain this sub 8,000 price level until you find some conviction either way in the market. So I'm seeing a lot of kind of algorithm back and forth trading, I guess you'd call it. That mostly you see that in a low volume environment, and you kind of see how low the volume is on the daily. What you have there, look at that, just every day is getting a little less, little less, little less. And when you're in a low volume environment, to kind of create some action, you basically have computers trading and buying and selling kind of back and forth. And that's why you're seeing this level price here, because that's what's going on. And, if you want to go to the 15-minute real quickly there on Bitcoin, I think this is a pure example here of just a bearish rising wedge where we bottomed. It was a double bottom. You could argue around
It's a bearish. That's a bear flag.
But it's a bear flag forming there, right? And that's what I'm seeing here. So at any moment, this is probably kind of just dump back down again to 7,800 or so, kind of retest that bottom there. And every time the price seems to be moving, it doesn't seem to be a lot of Bitcoin moving it up. And that basically tells me that this is just a thin market in terms of where the money is right now. If you want to go to the Ether chart on GDAX, and let's start with the depth chart there, because this is one I mentioned that was super bearish, and kind of zoom out on the Ether chart there. It's at 446 right now.
I have it all the way zoomed out. I'm all the way zoomed out
on Ether. Yeah, this is a lot of money here.
Ooh.
It's parked well under $400.
Yeah.
So it's a big green wall there of people that are just ready to buy. There's no doubt about that. But just look where they're ready to buy it. They're ready to buy it. There's a little kind of hiccup there right around 390. Like actually, it's probably right at 400. That's like your last little wall of support there. And then after that, it's just kind of a cascade down in the threes. So there's money there, but it's set up sub 400.
Right.
And that is kind of where I think we might be.
That's where they think it's worth. That's what they think it's worth.
Exactly.
All right, what else? What else? Let's go real. You want to do Litecoin, and then let's go to the chat room.
Let's take a look at Litecoin.
Let's go. We'll go. Want to go Litecoin? Where do you want me to zoom to?
So let's depth chart it, and this is actually interesting here. Let's do the depth chart. Let's zoom all the way out. We're at 133 right now on Litecoin.
Okay.
And what you see is, it's similar. It's not as
$100. $100, right?
Right. But right at $100 there, that's where everybody is. So
yeah. Also here though, you get a bunch here at a $1.20 though.
Sure, and that's kind of where I was looking for that 125, which is kind of your next
another
support
one
there.
Too. Yeah,
I mentioned a lot of history with Litecoin in the 125 area.
Yep.
And that's where I think that the next bounce potential could happen if we get there quicker than a trickle down. But as you see here, there's a lot of money positioned sub 100, and at least that kind of tells me where the market mentality thinks this may be headed
to 100. 100.
Yeah.
Why don't you? All right, let's. And this is Big Cheds. That was Big Chonis. We're happy to have him. You do a great job for us. Let's check the chat room. Let's take 3 questions. Just some real quick ones here.
Sure. Well, first of all, it's great to see everybody in the chat. We got 500 live viewers right now. That's awesome. Nice to see Eric Cho in the chat for the first time. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's take a look here. A couple questions here. Yes, Chonis's Twitter handle is @BigChonis for sure. Let's see here. We mentioned the big buy walls there on GDAX. Basically, I'm not, I don't have a lot of conviction on them here. Chad, do you want to do a couple alts? Do you have any
Sure,
interest
let's
in
go
a
real
couple
quick. Let's
alts?
go.
All right, TRX, Angelo. What's up, Andy? Let's do a little
All
TRX.
right, everybody. All right, this will make 80% of the people on Twitter happy. TRX. So right now it's almost like an ascending triangle where you have you have kind of a flat peak and you have a rising, you have kind of the higher lows. So we're kind of right now, I'm drawing it on the screen. I'm kind of seeing an ascending triangle, which is a bullish formation. But we are showing that we're a little bit overbought right now. So it's just a question of what's going to happen. I think it's pretty likely we're going to see a lower trend line test here, big Chonis, which would be right around 550. And then what I would look for is a break and hold of this upper trend line. What are you seeing?
Yeah, Cheds. I mean, the chart's pretty bullish. There is a significant amount of resistance. The click it's tried several times to break out of like 580,
Hmm.
and got rejected a bunch of times there.
Yeah.
I agree. It's almost a bullish flag here that seems to be forming. As you said, the 4 hour is a little topped off. Let's
Ascending, it would be ascending triangle.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
But the
uh,
1 hour,
mhm.
kind of has reset.
Yep.
But yeah, this definitely has some upward momentum. The
One
volume's
hour.
decent.
Oh, 1 hour.
Um,
Okay.
it's definitely the volume's there. It's decent. Um, we really got to break that 580
Hmm.
to really have any conviction this will put another leg higher. Um, and I'm just going to take a quick look just on the bigger picture here when you zoom out here.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has bottomed, from its parabolic move. It's definitely kind of potentially could have bottomed out here. What do we bottom at? Like 300-ish area there?
Yeah, right around
Um,
there. Yep.
yeah, I mean, you could argue it could go lower. I mean, but there was a lot of historic support, maybe in the 250 range. Never really got that far down.
Yep.
Um, volume can stay pretty steady, but the daily shows are pretty topped off here. RSI is decent,
Yep.
so I wouldn't be surprised if we kind of do a little pullback here, try and reset the chart, and then
Yep.
try and do another push of our 580, and see if we can break through.
That's great analysis. And I think if it does fail here on this trend line, I think it does have a lot of support, like 480 to 500.
Hmm.
So that's a good call. Do you want? I'll let you take the lead. What's next? What you want to do next here?
Sure. Well, let's do ZRX. Why not? What's up, Cho Khan? And a real quick thing about ZRX, I want to mention briefly.
Yeah.
There was an article that came out, or a press release from Coinbase a couple of days ago,
Hmm.
basically talking about their cutting ad, and I'm sure I'm butchering this, but the E20
ERC
platform,
20. ERC
the
20.
ERC20, and that allowed.
Is that the Eric Cho 20 format?
Exactly. But that produced a pretty amazing spike in volume
Right.
in ZRX.
Hmm.
We gave some of that back there, but
Yep.
definitely a lot of interest in this because the thought is that, oh, is this going to be the next token that might be on,
Hmm.
the Coinbase GDEX platform? And what the article basically said is, don't look for like one after like overnight there'll be a new, like the way they added Bitcoin Cash, which was kind of a cluster.
Yep.
Don't expect some random alt to appear on GDAX or on Coinbase overnight. It seems like what they want to do is bundle a bunch of alts into some sort of an index fund and basically slowly allow them to create some sort of a market. And once that market gets big enough, then I wouldn't be surprised if they eventually end up on GDAX and Coinbase as more of a lump sum. So maybe several coins at once
Yep.
versus the next one. And I think that will put a lot more stability into that kind of market there. But what makes that kind of special about ZRX, and I know that some of the people on the ZRX board or founders used to be former Coinbase employees, which is helpful, is that it kind of adds a little bit more legitimacy to the platform, to
Hmm.
the OX protocol,
Yep.
as being something a little more legitimate than a lot of the other altcoins out there, which are showing to be smoke and mirrors. Let's put it that way.
It's a great write-up. That's a great call, my friend. While you were talking, I put the article so people can read for themselves
Yep,
what
there it is.
Coinbase released and kind of go from there. On the chart, I was looking at this chart earlier. We did have that parabolic move where we ran from 60 whatever, 63 all the way to almost 12K. And I admit I got caught up in the excitement quite a bit. Now we're in a consolidation period where we have lower highs, and what's good is we actually just broke that. So on the screen we have our high, our low, our high, our low, our high, our low, and then right here again with this candle close 2 hours ago, we actually broke this pattern. So this is actually a signal that this could be ready to start making a new leg, or at least it's a signal that that a bullish break of consolidation is probably going to happen versus a bearish break, uh, based on this type of format. What do you think, Big Chonis?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to see the consolidation after that, incredible like hourly candle that brought us up to 11,000 there. Volume has trailed off significantly. The chart is way overbought on the daily. A little no room to reset on the 4 hour. Um, I like the fact that we're kind of holding this, say, 78 to 800, 8,000 Satoshi range here.
Hmm.
Um, the real question is, was this just a pump based on that particular article? And are we kind of basically give it all back as if it never ever happened?
Right.
So I think short term here, it definitely still is in a bullish pattern here. I like to see this kind of slow trickle up, but the volume is getting a little anemic.
Mm.
And if that keeps decreasing, then there really isn't going to be much to kind of keep this nice impulse wave from dropping lower.
Yeah, but low volume sideways would be good actually, because it would signal kind of a gathering of the gains, right? It would signal kind of just a more sturdiness to that level. Um, which would kind of make sense given how high it went initially. It was 20K, then back down to 6, and
Hmm.
so for it to hold kind of like at 8, because we just went to 12, right? So from 12 back to 8, like, so 6 to 12 to 7, right? And then you hold 8 would be good because you still have 50% from there to your prior peak. So that'd be something to look for. Let's take one more and then we'll wrap it up.
Sounds good, buddy. All right. Let's see what to choose. What to choose. So many to choose. So many to choose. All right. Let's do Verge, and we'll end it from there. A little
Oh, geez.
XVG,
Oh,
your favorite.
all the hodlers are gonna love us today. All right, so XVG, I'm gonna go. So 4 hour looks like it's close to resetting here, which is pretty good. We are at the middle Bollinger. We still have some time though in this candle, so that's actually probably. I mean, I don't have a lot of confidence we'll hold the middle, but if it does hold the middle Bollinger in the 4 hour, that would be good. We're looking at higher lows, we're looking at higher highs right now. In this channel, it is a rising channel. I'm not sure if it's a wedge or what it is. I'm just going to quickly draw it out. Jonas, why don't you tell us what you're seeing on Verge here while I kind of mark it up?
Yeah, Cheds. It's a bullish pattern still, no doubt. The volume isn't terrible. I agree. We could come down further on the 4 hour. We are kind of hugging that middle Bollinger, but we did break it previously, and then we shot right through it again. So,
Yeah, yeah.
that's good to see. The daily shows us we're pretty topped off there. Um, and historically we've only been topped off this
Ooh.
much during our little impulse wave
Oh,
there.
there you
So
go. I should have looked. We should have. What's the first? We should have looked at yesterday's candle, Big Jonas.
yeah, that's a nasty wick there, isn't it?
What is
Yeah,
that? That's a big old shooting star. So that
yeah,
that kind of would have told us how to interpret today. Um, but wow, this is a pretty darn tight range on today, though.
it's holding up, isn't it?
So maybe this is the base. I mean, I mean, it already did give a lot back. So maybe, maybe it holds in this area here around 500.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It's not bad. It's definitely a bullish chart. We'll see if the volume can kind of kick in again
Hmm.
and kind of create the momentum there. I mentioned this in a previous show. We're seeing a lot of these alts pop
Yeah.
in the past couple days, and I mentioned that as long as we get this continued sideways action with Bitcoin, you could see a lot of these alts move just because there isn't the fear that Bitcoin is kind of dropped 20%, in a 12, 24-hour period. And that would basically take all the alts down 20% if they ran in suit. So while Bitcoin can remain relatively stable, and let's say we're within a $300 to $500 price range, then these alts will allow them to take some money. And one more thing I want to point out, and I
Mm-hmm.
can't remember if I
Mm-hmm.
saw this on another YouTube channel or a chart. It was basically trying to figure out the money that's flowing into these alts now and creating these nice pumps.
Mm-hmm.
Is it new money or is it
Mm-hmm.
current money in the
Mm-hmm.
crypto space that's getting moved around? And I actually think it's current money that's either in fiat or in other coins that's kind of being shifted around to try and find some alpha here,
Mm-hmm.
um, where they're seeing a pump, the money's flowing into it, the pump seems to kind of fizzle out, and the money goes into that next alt. So I feel this is kind of money already currently in the system in the crypto space
Mm-hmm.
and not any new money from the outside. And for us to get back into a buller market year, overall,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to see more money flow in that already isn't there. We're going to have to see more new retail investors and traders come into this space. And right now, I just think this is money that's already currently here being shifted around from whichever coin is hot in the moment.
So, what do you think we need? Like an invitation from CNBC for the average Joe in the street to jump back into Bitcoin?
It's amazing how quiet they've been over the past few weeks as Bitcoin is slowly, kind of hovering here. They
Yeah.
were very vocal
Mm.
when Bitcoin was pushing, that 15,000 to 19,000 range.
Yep.
Very, very bullish and enthusiastic on having to show you how to buy Ripple when it
Sure.
was over $3,
Of course. Of
a
course.
coin.
Of course.
So I think they kind of got wrapped up into it as well, and they've been
Yeah.
pretty hush hush. And that's what Bitcoin and crypto needs, though, is we need more people talking about it. We need it to be out there in everyday news and in positive stories, not negative stories. To bring more stability, more feel that the market is solid, and that's going to bring more
Right.
people in. Until we get that situation, we're not going to see that. And
Mm-hmm.
again, I think it's all about volume. Chance, can you pull up real quickly the
Yeah.
market cap?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's get a little sense here of kind of where we are in terms of money flow. Um, a month ago, we were hovering 7, 6, $8 billion a day in Bitcoin, decent. And then
Mm.
literally like this second half of March, we have 4 billion, 5 billion, low sixes, continued deflationary money flowing into Bitcoin specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday on the 27th of March, we finished with 5.3 billion, that was 600
No, no,
billion
that's today.
less.
Big Chonis, that's we're still in this day. We still have 4 hours left in this day.
Right, in this day, but the March 27th day
That's
there
today.
was.
That's the
Oh, it
day.
is?
I mean,
It is?
I don't know. We'll have to refresh.
I
I'm
think
gonna.
that's the close day, and then this day we're only seeing roughly 5 billion in the 24-hour.
Someone will
So
tell us. I think it's. I don't know. We'll find out. If I hit
we'll find
refresh,
out. That's
maybe
a
it will
good
go
question.
up. Yeah.
But regardless, it's just less money. It's every day we're getting a little less money flowing into Bitcoin.
Hmm.
24-hour volume, if we start getting into the 4 billion range, I just don't see how that's going to continue to prop up the price where it currently is. And that's why I see still we're kind of stuck in this bearish trend, at least for the time being.
Okay. Well, no, but bearish. I mean, it's still bullish in the macro. If we're looking at the daily chart, we're still basically, we're still basically in a long bullish consolidation period where you still have our higher lows. We do have our trend lines. I mean, I don't know. I think it's at least neutral right now. Everyone wants to say bearish, but until this lower trend line breaks, I'm not really entertaining any bearish sentiment
That's
personally.
true. And that brings up a point where, there's a lot of people out there in TradeView, putting up charts, making predictions for much lower Bitcoin prices.
Hmm.
And, that may be the case at some point.
Right.
But I agree with what you said that it's stupid to talk about Bitcoin 5,000, 4,000 or lower,
Yep.
because the road to that is going to offer several bounce money making opportunities.
If
So
that
there's
even
so
happens.
much,
If that even happens.
if that even happens. So there's still so much history that's yet to be written
Yep.
in Bitcoin if we are going to test, some previous lower price points there. Cheds, our chat is blowing up for people really wanting us to do a quick review of ICX.
Okay.
Think you have one more in you?
Yeah, that's fine. Bartender, another margarita, please. And
Load it up.
this time, no umbrella. All right. What are we doing? ICX.
ICX. Let's finish it with ICX.
Yeah. I mean, it's trying to find support here.
Hmm.
What I'd want to do, you really want to see if you can maintain higher lows. Big Chonis. So you see in the 4 hour, we did put in a low, a candle close. We put in a low of 35.50, like whatever, a couple days ago. And so I'd like to see that hold if I'm a bull. We're kind of right there right now. We did see this doji here in the prior 4 hour candle, which might mean it's going to kind of stop here and kind of go back up. So we have to wait and see though. What do what do you think is going on?
Yeah, Cheds. This is kind of a tricky chart to figure here. I mean, we had a lot of nice buying pressure about a week ago. Great run. We're consolidating. The
Hmm.
volume isn't that bad, but the daily is showing that there's more consolidation to come.
Hmm.
Um, because the
Hmm.
OBV kind of fell off. I mean, it's holding up actually. I shouldn't say it fell off there. It's holding up. Um, this one's not bad. I like the volume flow. We are correcting. I'm not really seeing a decent level of support because right now we are here. Yeah, see, right where we're at right here, if we break through this 3,500 area here,
Yeah.
we're going to fall right through that big green candle we had that kind of
Yeah.
started this nice bull run.
Yep.
And that brings us back down to like 3,000 on the dot there. So if
32.
we 32, yeah. So if we can't hold right here, kind of fall pretty quickly to that next level of support there.
32.
And,
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised if that's where we're headed just
Can you see?
because,
Can you see now on your screen the trend line I drew with the stochastics?
yes, yes.
So that'd be interesting to see if that kind of could play out, right? You're looking for patterns.
Yep.
So that's if this 4 hour bottom holds. If this 4 hour bottom holds this higher low, that might be a clue that that kind of a pattern will play out in the daily chart, which would signify a potential higher low. Um, if this is going to form some type of a continued upward channel. So yeah, Jonas, any words to wrap it up? Big Jonas?
Just I'm kind of just sitting on my hands here. I'm not really seeing a lot of conviction in the market here. The slow bleed is very disconcerting to me. I'd like to see more conviction of a if we're going to do a dump, let's just do a dump, get it over with.
Mm-hmm.
But because we're not seeing that, it
Yep.
almost makes me feel like um, this is just kind of being held up right now by algorithms and some back and forth trading. It just seems like we're having such a struggle just to get back over 8,000 again.
Mm-hmm.
So that just tells me that there's just not a lot of buyers over 8,000. Every time it seemed to break it, we talked about this in our previous show. It just got dumped into relatively hard, and that's kind of where you're seeing the price action.
Mm-hmm.
Litecoin is faring a lot worse right now. I really feel that LitePay failure news has really caused Litecoin to take a bigger hit. Also,
Mm-hmm.
kind of takes Charlie Lee down a little bit because he was really pumping LitePay as the next kind of
Mm.
great hurdle
Mm-hmm.
that Litecoin would roll out and allow it to kind of bring it to that next step, which would basically be merchants accepting Litecoin as payment. This was a very important, one of his like top 4 important things that he said were going to be the big plan for 2018, and
Mm.
to basically see him apologize and basically say, next time I pump something so hard, I'll try and do a little more due diligence, doesn't really give me, a whole lot of confidence
Mm.
in kind of the direction right now. And I
And
think that's why we're
you're a
seeing the
fair guy
biggest.
too. I mean, you're a Litecoin lifer.
I
So that
am. I think
so
it's a
that was
great.
very fair. That didn't strike me as as cheap shot. So, kudos, man.
I'm
Um,
just being honest. I feel
I
that
appreciate. Let's
because
wrap
of
it up.
that,
Let's
you're
wrap it up.
seeing
Let's go
that
Ethereum
negative
too.
divergence there in Litecoin.
No,
So
that's a great point.
basically, we're just in a wait and see pattern, see if we can see any conviction either way here. But for now, I'm just kind of sitting on my hands and waiting.
That's brilliant, man. I'm sorry I cut you off. That was some really great feedback. I'm kind of with you on Litecoin, not so much about the light pay thing. I mean, like, whatever. I'll let the price action play out. I think it's got a history of having nice bounces. We're at an area of support. Bitcoin for me, we are looking at the daily upper and lower trend lines, of course. That's what's going to make or break it for me. Once that trend is violated, and so Bitcoin looks pretty good here for me. I think it's lining up at support. Ethereum is lining up at support. Litecoin is lining up at support. I think we're in this is the type of spot where if you've been on the sidelines, you're probably looking to start loading. In the 1 hour, we are still have higher lows in the 1 hour. So if you want to look micro trend on Bitcoin, watch these upper trend lines, watch this lower trend line for a potential clue about what's coming up next. Once again, this is Big Cheds. I was joined by Big Chonis. We are not advisors. We're just a couple guys like to have fun talking charts, talking crypto. And I'm glad you guys joined us today. And I wish you best of luck in all your trades. Take care. Bye.